2 alphas, 1 mysterious mark, and a girl caught in the middle of a bond that could rewrite everything the pack believes. Welcome to Fictional Novels to Life, where stories aren't just read, they're lived. In this series, we'll bring you deep into the thrilling world of Marked by the Alpha Twins, packed with romance, secrets, power struggles, and the kind of twists that'll have you hooked from the prologue. If you love supernatural suspense, forbidden love, and strong heroines who rewrite their own fate, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a chapter. And we're just getting started. Prologue. The moon's warning. The moon was full the night the forest whispered her name. Silver light filtered through the canopy, throwing eerie shadows across the moss-carpeted ground. Trees stood like silent sentinels, ancient and knowing, their leaves trembling with secrets. The wind moved in odd rhythms, as if it wasn't wind at all, but breath. Watching, waiting. Elara ran. Not because she was afraid, though she should have been, but because something primal inside her told her to. Her feet pounded the trail, breath catching in her throat, heart galloping. She didn't know what she was running toward, only that something was coming, and she was supposed to meet it. The mark on her shoulder throbbed. She hadn't been born with it. It had appeared 2 weeks ago, seared into her skin during a dream she couldn't shake, a shape like twin wolves locked in a mirrored snarl. Since then, everything had started unraveling. Her foster parents growing cold and distant, animals reacting strangely around her, strange men in black cars watching from just out of sight. And the dreams, always the same. 2 wolves, 1 silver, 1 midnight black, circling her under twin moons. A low voice whispering, "Choose. But choose wisely." Tonight felt like the end of something, or the beginning. She stopped at the edge of the clearing. It was a perfect circle, ringed with stones carved in symbols that pulsed with faint blue light. The kind of place that didn't just exist, not by accident. Her pulse roared in her ears. The wind fell silent. And then they appeared. 2 figures stepped out of the woods in unison, tall, bare-chested, identical. Their eyes glowed faintly in the moonlight, 1 pair silver, the other a deep, burning amber. Muscles rippled under tattoos that shifted when she blinked. Each bore the same symbol that had burned itself into her skin. Twins. Alphas. She felt it before they even spoke. Dominance radiated off them like heat. 1 smelled like wildfire and leather, the other like rain-soaked pine. They stopped just feet from her, and she couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The silver-eyed one tilted his head. "You felt the pull." It wasn't a question. The other stepped forward. "You're marked, Elara, and now the choice is yours." She opened her mouth, but her voice didn't come. The mark on her shoulder blazed, her knees buckled. They both caught her at once. 2 fates, 1 path. The forest shifted again, darker now, the moon high overhead. In the distance, a low, mournful howl echoed through the valley, long and guttural, a warning. Something ancient had awakened, and Elara had just stepped into its arms. Chapter 1. New Girl, Old Secrets. Elara hated starting over. Again. She stood outside Black Hollow High, trying to ignore how the building looked more like a prison than a school. The brick was dark, weathered with ivy crawling up its sides like fingers trying to pull it underground. Fog rolled in low over the hills, making the morning feel too quiet, like the town itself was holding its breath. She adjusted the strap of her backpack and told herself this was just another place, another school, another round of pretending she wasn't different. The office secretary, a brittle-looking woman named Mrs. Langley, with steel-gray hair and a permanent frown, handed her a schedule and a map. "Try not to get lost, dear," she said, though her tone made it clear she wouldn't be surprised, or particularly concerned, if Elara did. "Thanks," Elara muttered and slipped into the hallway. The moment she walked in, the buzzing chatter around lockers faltered. Heads turned, eyes followed. She was used to this part. New girl, fresh blood, walking mystery. Some stared with curiosity, others with the kind of wariness that came from small-town kids who didn't like change. But a few watched her too closely, like they already knew something. She glanced down at her schedule. Homeroom, room 107. Easy enough, except nothing in Black Hollow was easy. She turned a corner and nearly ran headfirst into someone. Her schedule fluttered to the floor. "Whoa, sorry," she said, dropping to pick it up. The guy who'd collided with her bent down at the same time. Their hands brushed. Electricity snapped up her arm, sudden and sharp like she'd touched a live wire. She looked up and froze. He was tall, athletic, raven black hair and eyes like molten gold. His jaw tightened when their eyes met, and for a second, something flickered there. Recognition. No, more than that. Possession. He handed her the paper without a word and walked past her like nothing had happened. "Elara, right?" came a voice behind her. She turned and saw a girl her age with strawberry blonde curls and a crooked smile. "I'm May. I saw you on the class roster. You're in my home room." Grateful for the lifeline, Elara nodded. "I think I just got zapped by a walking Tesla coil." May laughed. "That was Kade, one of the infamous wolf twins." Elara blinked. "Twins?" "Yeah, Kade and Jaxon. Don't feel bad. Everyone gets a little fried the first time. They're intense, wolf twins." The name made her stomach drop. Her dreams, the mark, the two wolves. Her chest tightened. May continued as they walked. "They mostly keep to themselves. Rumor is their family runs that creepy old lodge out by the forest. Some say they're part of a biker gang. Others think they're homeschooled werewolves." Elara forced a laugh, even though her pulse was racing. "Cute. Are there actually biker gangs out here?" "You'd be surprised what hides in these woods," May said, her tone half joking. "Anyway, if you want to survive this place, rule number 1, don't mess with the Wolf brothers." Too late, Elara thought. Homeroom passed in a blur. Most of her classmates gave her the usual once-over. Kade sat near the back, expression unreadable, arms crossed. She could feel his gaze, though he never looked directly at her. Third period, things got worse. Her skin prickled as soon as she walked into chemistry. There, standing beside the lab station, was the other twin. This one had silver eyes. He smiled when he saw her, not the polite, casual kind, the kind that said, "We've met before, even if you don't remember." "I saved you a seat," he said, gesturing beside him. "Jaxon Wolf," the teacher announced, handing her a textbook. "You'll be paired with him for the semester." Of course. She slid into the seat, trying not to react as Jaxon leaned in just enough for her to smell him. Rain, pine, and something else, something sharp and wild. "You're not from here," he said softly. She arched an eyebrow. "That obvious? It's not your clothes. It's your scent." Her heart stuttered. "Excuse me?" He didn't elaborate. Instead, he turned his attention to the front. As the teacher droned on about chemical bonds, Jaxon passed her a folded piece of paper. She hesitated before opening it. It read, "You were marked for a reason. We've been waiting for you." The bell rang, but Elara barely heard it. She shoved the note in her bag and stood up too fast. Her vision swam. The mark on her shoulder burned beneath her sweater. Outside the class, she turned a corner and stopped dead. Both twins were waiting. Kade leaned against a locker, arms folded, gaze cool. Jaxon stood beside him, all easy charm with teeth hiding something dangerous. "You felt it," Kade said quietly. "Haven't you?" Elara's throat tightened. "What is it?" "Truth," Jaxon answered, "and it's waking up." Before she could demand answers, a low growl rumbled through the hall, not from them, but from somewhere deep within her. Her knees buckled, just slightly. The mark on her shoulder flared. Kade caught her elbow. His touch was firm, grounding, too familiar. "You don't know it yet," he said, voice low. "But you're one of us." Then they were gone, slipping into the crowd as easily as shadows. Elara stood frozen, the hallway spinning around her. One of them. She didn't even know what that meant, but something inside her, something she'd spent years suppressing, had just started to wake up. And it was hungry. Chapter 2. The twins appear. The wind changed the moment they stepped into the cafeteria. Elara felt it before she saw them. A low ripple in the air, like heat rising off the blacktop, even though the room was ice cold from the overzealous AC. Conversation dipped. Trays paused mid-air. Every student's attention swiveled, consciously or not, toward the doorway. The Wolf twins. Jaxon entered first, smooth and unbothered, hands in his pockets like he owned the space. His silver eyes scanned the crowd lazily, like he wasn't looking for anyone, but still found exactly who he meant to. Kade followed, his energy more coiled, shoulders squared, eyes sharp and dark like storm clouds behind tinted glass. They walked like predators in a den of prey, silent, assured, untouchable. And they were coming straight for her. Elara kept her spine straight. She was halfway through picking apart a sad-looking chicken sandwich when May, seated across from her, whispered, "Holy hell, they've never come in here together." "What do you mean?" Elara asked, keeping her voice casual even though her stomach twisted. "They usually eat outside. Or not at all. You're officially cursed now." "Comforting," she muttered. Then they were there, one at either side of her, without warning. "Elara," Jaxon said, voice quiet but commanding. "Come with us." She blinked at him. "You could try asking." Kade's mouth quirked, barely. "We don't ask." Her jaw tightened. "I noticed." The twins didn't react to her sarcasm. Jaxon leaned in, close enough for her to feel the warmth of his breath. "You felt it again last night, didn't you? The mark, the dreams." That stopped her cold. She stood slowly, pushing her tray aside. Every nerve buzzed like it knew she was about to step off a cliff. "If you want answers," Kade said, "you won't get them in here." May looked like she wanted to protest, but Elara shook her head. "It's fine. I'll find you later." The twins led her out of the cafeteria and down a hallway she hadn't explored yet. It led toward the old gym building, supposedly unused, sealed off since a fire a few years back. But they walked with purpose, like it was nothing unusual. Kade unlocked the side door with a key she didn't ask about, and they stepped into a space that smelled like dust, old sweat, and scorched wood. "Where are we?" she asked, taking in the dim room. Windows were boarded up. Mats lay rolled in the corners. The air felt too still. "Our territory," Jaxon said simply. "No ears here." "Except mine," she said, crossing her arms. "Start talking." The brothers exchanged a look. Kade spoke first. "You're not human." Elara laughed, but it came out sharp. "Try again." "You've always known something was different about you," Jaxon said. faster healing, heightened senses, emotions you can't explain, dreams that feel more real than waking life. Her smile faded. That mark isn't just a symbol, Kade said. It's a call. Our world, our kind, recognizes you. The forest does. The moon does. You're saying I'm a werewolf, she said flatly. Jaxon shook his head. Not just that. You're an heir, a rare bloodline, one that went missing 20 years ago after the war between the packs. Kade's voice darkened. Your blood is royal. Her throat dried. I was in foster care. There's no royal anything about me. There was, Jaxon said, until someone made sure you'd forget, hide you from both sides. Both sides? Kade took a step closer. The packs, ours, Black Hollow, and the rogues who want to destroy it. And if you're marked by both of us... Elara looked from one twin to the other. Why am I marked by both of you? Isn't it supposed to be one mate? Silence. Jackson's eyes held hers. We're twins, same blood, same bond. But the prophecy said the marked girl would have two fates. She could unite the alphas or break the pack in two. Her stomach dropped. So you think I'm that girl? Kade pulled something from his jacket. A photo, old, faded, weather-worn. He handed it to her. It was a woman. Long, dark hair, strong jaw, silver eyes. She was holding a baby wrapped in a midnight blue blanket. That's your mother, Kade said. She was the Luna of the Black Hollow pack. Our father's mate. Elara's hands shook. Our mother died in the war, Jaxon said quietly. Yours disappeared. With you, until now. The air thickened with things unsaid. Grief, betrayal, truth long buried. Why now? Elara asked finally. Jaxon stepped closer. Because someone else knows you're back, and they'll kill to stop what's coming. Elara, Kade said, voice steady but low. We're not asking you to choose, not yet, but you need to stay close to us. The mark's only the beginning. Before she could ask what that meant, a loud crash sounded from outside, glass shattering, wood splintering. The twins were already moving. Kade blocked the door. Jaxon crouched low, sniffing the air. Rogues, he hissed. A growl echoed from the hallway. You brought me here without telling me I was bait? She snapped. Kade's eyes flashed. We didn't expect them to be this bold. Something's pushing them. Jaxon tossed her a look. Can you fight? Elara blinked. No? You're about to learn, Kade said. The door splintered. A massive figure burst through, hulking, half-shifted, face twisted into something feral. Not fully wolf, not fully human. Blood dripped from its claws, and it was coming for her. Jaxon stepped in front of her. Kade flanked the creature from the side. Stay behind us, Kade growled, no matter what happens. Elara backed against the wall, heart pounding. She watched in stunned disbelief as the twins shifted mid-motion, bones cracking, muscles twisting, shadows stretching. One became a sleek black wolf, the other silver. They didn't hesitate. The fight was brutal. Fast, almost too fast to follow. Claws slashed, jaws snapped. Elara couldn't breathe. Every part of her screamed to run, but something held her there. Rooted. The mark on her shoulder glowed faintly, pulsing like it was alive. As the rogue fell, broken and gasping, it locked eyes with her. You don't know what you are, it rasped. But he does, and he's coming. Then it collapsed. Silence. The twins shifted back, breathing hard. Blood smeared their skin, but neither seemed injured. Elara stepped forward, voice shaking. "Who's he?" Kade met her gaze. "The one who started the war. The one who killed your father." Jaxon added, "The one who believes your blood belongs to him." Elara looked down at the dead rogue, at the faint glow still pulsing from the mark on her skin. Whatever normal life she thought she had, it was gone, and the wolves weren't done with her yet. Chapter 3. Eyes Like Storms. It rained that night, not the soft kind either. It was a relentless, howling storm that lashed against the windows of Elara's room as if the sky itself was warning her to stay awake. She didn't sleep. Her bones still ached from the adrenaline crash. Her mind kept circling the fight in the old gym, the look in that rogue's eyes before he died, and, more than anything, the way Kade and Jaxon had shifted. Fluid, effortless, terrifyingly beautiful. They had become something else entirely, and they had done it for her. She paced the small room in her foster home, barefoot and restless, the floor creaking beneath her. The mark on her shoulder was a steady pulse of heat, less painful now, but alive, like a tether pulling her toward something she didn't understand, toward them. She caught herself staring at the storm outside, wondering, hoping they would show up again. But midnight passed, then wanting, and still nothing but rain and thunder. Her phone buzzed. "May, are you okay? You kinda ghosted me. Heard there was a fight near the gym?" Elara stared at the screen for a long second, then typed, "Fine, just needed air. Thanks for checking." It was easier than telling the truth, that something tried to kill her, that the two most dangerous guys in school had turned into wolves and torn it apart, that her world was coming undone by the seams. A knock at her window made her jump. She spun, ready to scream or fight or both, but stopped short. Kade Wolf stood outside, soaked to the skin, hood down, hair dripping into his eyes. His gaze pinned her in place, stormy and sharp, the color of thunderclouds rolling in fast. She opened the window without asking why he was there. "You look like hell," she said quietly. "So do you," he replied, climbing in. Rain dripped onto her floor as he stepped in, quiet and barefoot. He looked at home in the shadows, like he was made of them. Despite the storm outside, his presence made the room feel warmer. He didn't speak at first, just stood there, scanning her with those unreadable eyes. "You shouldn't be here," she said, not sure if she meant it. "I needed to see if you were okay." She folded her arms. "Jackson's not with you?" "No." A pause. "We take turns watching the house now." She blinked. "You're watching me?" "Someone has to." There was no apology in his voice, just fact. Elara sat on the edge of her bed, watching him. "You don't talk much, do you?" "Words lie," he said. "But you don't?" "Not to you." She didn't know what to say to that. The silence between them was oddly comfortable, charged but not awkward, like neither of them knew what came next, but both of them felt it building. Finally, he broke it. "When we shifted earlier," he said, "you didn't run. Most people scream, collapse, pass out." "I think I've been expecting it," she admitted, "in some part of me, since I was a kid." Kade nodded slowly. "That's your blood. Your instincts are starting to wake up. Soon, the change will come whether you're ready or not." "Change into what?" He met her eyes. "What you really are." She swallowed hard. "And what exactly am I?" Kade walked over and sat across from her, so close their knees brushed. "The last Luna heir. Your mother was the soul of the pack. When she vanished, everything splintered. You're the one who can rebuild it, or burn it all down." "No pressure," she muttered. His mouth twitched, half a smile. "You said there was a prophecy," she said, "that I could unite you or destroy you. What if I choose neither?" "You won't get that choice forever." Elara looked away, hands gripping the edge of her bed. "Jaxon said someone's coming, the one who started the war, the one who killed my father." Kade's expression darkened. "Ronan. Who is he?" "Alpha of the Broken Fang Pack, ruthless, mad, and powerful enough that most don't say his name aloud. He used to be one of ours, before he turned rogue and slaughtered his own mate. He believes only strength should rule, and he thinks your blood belongs to him." "Why?" "Because your mother rejected him, chose our father instead." Elara blinked. "So he wants revenge?" "He wants you to claim the Luna line, to twist it." Her stomach churned. "And if I don't let him, he'll take you anyway." Silence fell again, heavier this time. Then Kade reached out, hesitantly, almost unsure, and touched the mark on her shoulder. His fingers were rough, calloused, warm. The mark flared faintly under his touch. "When we felt it burn," he said, voice low, "I thought it was impossible, that no one like you would ever come back. But here you are. I didn't ask for any of this." "No," he said, "but you were born for it." They sat there for a while, just breathing in sync, thunder rolling in the background. Eventually, Kade stood. "I'll go. You need rest. Tomorrow will be worse." She didn't ask how he knew that. He moved to the window, then paused, glancing back. "Elara," he said, eyes intense. "The bond between us, between you and me and Jaxon, it's real. It's old. It doesn't care what we want. But if you ever feel lost..." He hesitated, then added, softer, "Look for the storm. I'll be there." And then he was gone, slipping into the rain like he belonged to it. Elara closed the window slowly, chest tight. She lay back down, but she didn't sleep. Outside, lightning split the sky. And inside her, something answered. Chapter 4. Bound by the Mark. Elara woke to silence. No storm, no rain. Just a heavy, bone-deep stillness that felt unnatural. The mark on her shoulder throbbed, not painful this time, but insistent, like a drumbeat syncing with her pulse. She peeled herself out of bed, ignoring the dull ache in her muscles, and padded to the mirror. The mark had changed. The crescent moon remained, but it was surrounded now by twin lines etched in silver beneath the skin, intertwined, unmistakably mirrored. Kade and Jaxon. Her mind rebelled at the idea, but her body didn't. It knew. In some strange, ancient way, it had always known. The knock at her front door wasn't loud. 3 steady raps. She opened it to find Jaxon standing on the porch, arms crossed over his chest, his silver eyes unreadable. He was dry, composed, and for once alone. "Get dressed," he said simply. "We're going." "Where?" "To meet the elder." The drive was quiet. Jaxon didn't offer conversation, and Elara didn't ask for it. She stared out the window, watching the town fade into dense woods, trees rising like sentinels as they veered off the main road. Eventually, they stopped in front of an old stone house nestled deep in the forest. Moss-covered, ancient, the kind of place that had stories built into the walls. Jaxon led her inside, his steps soundless on the wooden floor. The interior was dim, lit by candles and shafts of filtered light. It smelled of herbs and smoke and something metallic. A woman stood waiting in the center of the room, robed in deep gray, silver hair braided down her back, sharp eyes studying Elara like she was a puzzle long unsolved. "You've returned," the woman said. I never thought I'd see her eyes again. Elara blinked. "You knew my mother?" "I named her Luna." Jaxon stepped back, letting the old woman approach. "I am Isara," she said, "elder of the Hollow, keeper of the bond, witness to the moon's mark." Elara braced herself. "Then maybe you can tell me what the hell is happening to me." Isara's hand rose slowly, hovering just above Elara's shoulder. The mark pulsed once, brighter than ever. "You're bound," she said, "to both. A rare anomaly. Dangerous." "Why dangerous?" "Because wolves are territorial. Alphas even more so. You carry the pull of both brothers, two halves of the same power. The bond will try to balance itself, but if either twin breaks it, it could tear you apart." Jaxon didn't flinch. Elara did. "Wait," she said. "Break it how?" "By denying it, rejecting it. If either of them turns their back on the bond, the magic snaps, and so does the vessel." Isara's gaze pinned Jaxon. "And she is the vessel." Jackson's voice was low. "We would never do that." "Wouldn't you?" Isara asked softly. "You think the bond is a gift, but it's also a curse. You were not meant to share her." Elara's voice cracked. "Then why did it happen?" Sara stepped closer. "Because your blood chose both, and the moon never makes mistakes." For a moment, no one spoke. Then Jaxon said, "Tell her the rest." Isara hesitated. "The mark isn't passive, it binds. Emotions, thoughts, even pain. It will start to bleed between you. You'll feel each other, dream each other. If one of you dies, the other may not survive it." Elara's mouth went dry. "So what now?" she whispered. Isara placed something in her hand, a pendant shaped like a double crescent moon. It burned warm. "Wear this. It will dampen the pull, not sever it, but it will keep your mind yours, for now." Elara clenched the charm in her fist. "I never asked for this." "No one ever does," Isara said, "but power doesn't wait for permission." That night, Elara stood in her backyard, staring up at the sky. No stars, just clouds, thick and heavy with some kind of waiting. She put the pendant on, felt it hum against her skin. Jaxon had dropped her off with a single warning. Don't take it off unless you're ready to feel everything. She didn't know what that meant until it slipped off her neck later that night. It happened by accident. She'd been shifting in her sleep, and the clasp came loose. The charm fell away, and the bond opened. She sat up with a gasp, sweat beading on her forehead, heart racing. Not with her own fear, but someone else's, Kade. She could feel him, his anger sharp and sudden, his need to run, to tear something apart. He was in the woods. He was fighting something. Someone. Elara didn't hesitate. She grabbed a jacket and slipped into the night, drawn like a magnet to the storm brewing in her blood. The trees welcomed her. The wind knew her name. And somewhere, deep in the forest, so did he. She found Kade kneeling beside a fallen tree, fists bloody, breath ragged. His eyes flared when he saw her, then softened. "I didn't call you," he said. "You didn't have to." She knelt beside him. No words, just presence. Kade reached out, his fingers brushing the bare skin over the mark. "You felt me." "Yes." His voice was a whisper, You're bound to me, to us, no going back. She nodded, and for the first time, she didn't want to. Chapter 5. The Pack's Law. The invitation came at dawn. A silver envelope tucked into the mailbox with no postmark, no return address. Just her name, scrawled in perfect handwriting across the front. Elara Wren Wolf. The last name hit like a punch. Her pulse skipped. Inside, the message was short. The Crescent Tribunal summons the marked. You are to appear before the Pack Council by sundown, no exceptions. She read it twice, then a third time. Then she went inside and packed. Jaxon met her at the edge of the woods. No car this time, just him, in a black jacket, the hood up, jaw tight with tension. You got it, he said, not a question. She held up the envelope. What is the Crescent Tribunal? The governing body of the 4 allied packs. They make the laws, set the hierarchy, issue sentences. She frowned. Why do they want me? Because you don't exist in their records, he said. And now you carry the mark of 2 alphas. You think they're going to accept that? Jaxon didn't answer. The Pack Council met in the sacred clearing, deep in the heart of the forest. Elara had expected something more dramatic, stone thrones maybe, or fire. But the space was open, circled by old trees and marked with runes carved into the ground. 12 figures stood in a loose arc, all watching her as she stepped into the center. Kade was already there, arms folded, his face unreadable. A third figure stood near him, a tall woman with braided silver hair and a coat made of dark wolf fur. Her aura was cold, commanding. Elara nodded once. Welcome to the Hollow. Elara didn't respond. A man stepped forward. Alpha Reese of the Blackthorne Pack. His voice carried power and something colder. You bear a double bond, he said. The mark of both wolf heirs. Do you deny it? Elara's voice was steady. No. You're unregistered, untrained, unclaimed. You carry blood we cannot verify. I didn't ask for any of it. Reese ignored her. And yet the bond remains. 2 alphas, 1 female. This violates the ancient law. Elara's stomach twisted. Then maybe the law is broken. Gasps rippled through the council. Another alpha spoke, a woman with scars down her jaw. The law forbids shared bonds. 1 alpha may claim, not 2. If this is left unchecked, it will divide the territory. Elara stepped forward. Then maybe I should decide who I am bound to. A beat of silence. Then Elara raised a hand. We have options, she said. Tradition allows for challenge. The Luna heir may choose her alpha in open trial, or if she refuses, she may be exiled from the Hollow. Elara looked between Kade and Jaxon. Trial? She echoed. Not a fight, Jaxon said quickly. A right. You face your bond, face us. The one who proves the strongest connection keeps the mark. The other loses it. And if I walk away? You walk alone, Reese said. No pack, no protection. You become rogue. Kade's voice broke through the tension. Low, steady. She won't be forced. You already forced the bond, snapped one of the elders. Jaxon's fists clenched. We didn't choose this. The moon did. Elara exhaled. So what? You want me to pick between you? No, Kade said. We want you to choose you, but you need to understand what it means. Elara stepped forward. Come. The rite of binding wasn't what she expected. It wasn't a fight. It was a ceremony, a vision. She was led into the heart grove, blindfolded, barefoot, breath slowing as Elara whispered a chant. Herbs burned in a silver bowl. The mark on her shoulder pulsed, and then the world shifted. She stood alone in a field of snow, moonlight above, no trees, no voices. Then she saw them, Kade and Jaxon, each facing her from opposite sides of the field. Kade's form shimmered, half wolf, half man. His presence was solid, grounded, a storm held in check by will alone. Jaxon glowed faintly, his aura warmer, more fire than ice. He radiated danger, but his expression held a softness she'd rarely seen. She felt them both, like magnets pulling at her bones. Her blood ached with it. "You have to choose," whispered the voice of the moon, "but not who you love. Choose what kind of power you want." Elara stepped forward, toward neither. "I choose me," she said, "not because I don't need them, but because I won't belong to anyone unless I belong to myself first." The ground cracked beneath her, the moon flared, and the mark on her shoulder split, twin crescent lines merging into one, then blazing white-hot before fading into her skin, leaving behind only a shimmer. When she woke, she was back in the grove. The council stood waiting. Elara spoke first. "The bond remains, balanced, unique. She is not claimed. She is chosen." Elara stood slowly, shaking. The council was silent. Until Reese growled, "This breaks every rule." "This rewrites them," Elara said. Later, back at the edge of the woods, Kade walked beside her. "You could have picked," he said. "I did." He looked at her. "I picked both of you," she said, "and I picked myself." Jaxon appeared from the trees, expression unreadable. "So what does that make you now?" he asked. Elara smiled faintly. "Not just a Luna heir," she said. "The Luna ascendant." And deep in the forest, the pack began to howl. They knew she had claimed her name, and now the law would have to bend to her. Chapter 6 1. Bond 2. Alphas. The mark had started pulsing, not with pain, with need. Elara could feel it whenever they were near, Kade with his sharp edges and quiet stares, and Jaxon with his reckless grin and fierce protectiveness. Each time one of them looked at her too long, her heart stuttered. Each time both were in the same room, something ancient stirred in her chest. The mark didn't just bind her to the hollow, it was binding her to them. Training was impossible. Kade barked commands from the edge of the ring while Jaxon circled her, testing her footwork. "Again!" Kade snapped, watching her lunge. "She's tired," Jaxon said, catching her wrist mid-swing. "Let her breathe. She'll breathe when she learns to counter without dropping her left shoulder." "Maybe if you didn't bark orders like a pissed-off ghost. I'm training her, not babysitting." Elara yanked her arm free, glaring at both. "I'm right here, you know." Kade's jaw ticked. Jaxon smirked, and the mark on her neck burned. Later that night, she found herself outside the twins' quarters, drawn by instinct more than reason. The door creaked open. Kade was at the desk, poring over patrol reports. Jaxon was half asleep on the couch, shirt off, hair damp from the shower. They both looked up when she entered. She hadn't meant to say anything, but the words came anyway. "I can feel you, both of you, like the mark is split down the middle and I'm being pulled in opposite directions." Silence. Then Kade stood, his voice low. "Because it is." Jaxon sat up, rubbing a hand over his face. "The bond isn't normal, Elara. We've known since the day you arrived." "You weren't just marked," Kade added. "You were shared, chosen by both of us." "But that's not how it works," she whispered. "A Luna bonds with one alpha. That's the law." Jaxon looked at her then, eyes raw, voice quiet. Then maybe the law's wrong. The air between them grew thick. Elara stepped back, heart pounding. So what happens now? You fight? One wins, one loses? You tear each other apart over me? No, Kade said. We've fought too many battles already. If it destroys the hollow, it's not worth it. And if it breaks you? She asked, looking between them. It already is, Jaxon admitted. Elara turned away, overwhelmed. The moonlight through the window cast pale lines across her skin. She felt Kade's hand brush her shoulder. I would walk away if you asked, he said. Then Jaxon, from the other side, stepped close. And I would stay as long as you let me. Her mark pulsed once, hot and final. Tears stung her eyes. Don't ask me to choose yet, she whispered, because right now, I can't. You don't have to, Kade said quietly. Not yet, Jaxon added. They didn't touch her again, but they stayed close, and the mark settled, for the first time in days, not with peace, but with understanding. One bond, two alphas, and Elara caught in the middle of a fate older than any of them could understand. Chapter 7. Secrets Beneath the Pines. The dreams started again. Not visions, these were different, sharper, vivid in a way that made waking feel like the illusion. Elara saw pine trees bathed in moonlight, shadows moving between them, and a girl running barefoot through the woods. Her breath hitched, her heart raced. And every time, just before the dream ended, she saw the same thing, a grave with no name. It was Jaxon who noticed the change in her first. You're not sleeping, he said, arms folded, eyes narrowed, and your sense off, like static. Elara blinked at him. You can smell my dreams? No, but I can smell your fear. She wanted to snap back, deny it. But what would be the point? It's not just dreams, she said quietly. It's memories. I think they're mine. Or hers. Your mother's? Elara nodded. She used to come here. She knew these woods. I need to find out why. Jaxon was quiet for a moment, then reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded map. He spread it across the table between them. There's a place north of the hollow. No one goes there anymore, not since the old blood feud. It's called the Wormroot Grove. Sounds inviting. There's a legend, he said. A Luna who ran, took secrets with her. The elders say she was buried in the roots of a dead pine, deep enough that even the earth forgot her name. Elara's skin prickled. What if she wasn't forgotten? She whispered. What if someone wanted her erased? She left at dawn. Kade tried to stop her. You don't walk into cursed woods alone, Elara. That's not strength. It's recklessness. She looked him dead in the eye. I've followed enough trails laid by other people. This one's mine. He handed her a dagger. Then take this, silver steel, cuts through illusions. Thanks. And if you're not back by sundown, I will be. The pines grew thicker the deeper she walked. Sunlight vanished behind the canopy, and the ground turned spongy, damp with moss and old leaves. The air grew cooler, quieter. Even the birds didn't sing here. She followed her instincts, and when they failed her, she followed the dreams. Eventually, she found the clearing. It wasn't large, just a dip in the woods where the trees thinned and the ground sloped into a circle of black soil. In the center stood a single pine, gnarled and split down the middle like it had been struck by lightning decades ago. Its roots twisted above the earth like fingers, and at its base, half buried by time, was a flat stone, no name, just a symbol, twin crescent moons. Elara knelt. The air shifted. Behind her the shadows moved. She turned, dagger raised. But it wasn't a threat. It was a presence. A woman, cloaked in gray, her face pale, her eyes full of grief. I waited, the figure whispered. For someone who could hear me. Elara swallowed. Who are you? I am what remains of the Luna that was cast out. Your bloodline. Your beginning. The one they buried in silence. My mother? No, her mother. Elara's breath caught. My grandmother. The figure nodded. She knew too much. The bond between twins, the truth of the ascendant. The council feared her, so they branded her rogue, and when she ran, they hunted her. They killed her. They erased her, the ghost whispered. But memory is harder to kill, especially when it runs in the blood. Elara stepped closer. What do they not want me to know? The ghost pointed to the tree. Beneath the roots, there is a journal, hidden in a box bound by wolfsbane and ash. It will burn you to touch, but it will tell you everything. Elara hesitated. Why are you telling me this? Because the wolves are circling, the spirit said, and when they come for you, knowledge will be your only weapon. The ghost faded. Elara stared at the roots. Then she dug. The earth fought her. Roots clawed at her hands. The wolfsbane stung her skin. But eventually, her fingers brushed something solid, metal and wood, wrapped in ancient cloth. She pulled it free. It pulsed with cold. She didn't open it. Not yet. She slipped it into her pack and stood. The sun was already dipping, and something was watching her. She didn't run. She walked back the way she came, slow and steady, the scent of pine thick in her lungs. But she never lost the sense that something had shifted, that something had woken up in the woods. When she returned, the twins were waiting. Kade looked her over, eyes lingering on the blood and dirt. You're hurt. I'm fine. Jaxon's eyes flicked to the journal she held like a shield. What did you find? Elara looked at them both. Answers. And then she said the words that made them both still. I'm not the first Luna Ascendant. Chapter 8. A Kiss in the Dark. The hollow was quiet that night. Too quiet. No howls, no council summons, no patrols stomping through the trees, just the weight of the journal under Elara's pillow and the pull of something she couldn't explain sitting heavy in her chest. Her skin still burned where the wolfsbane had touched her. Her fingers were scratched and raw from digging through earth. But none of that compared to the ache that had bloomed between her and the twins ever since the rite. It hadn't settled, hadn't faded. If anything, it had deepened, like the bond didn't know how to stay quiet anymore. She stepped out into the cool night air, barefoot, hoodie tugged around her shoulders. The moon was waning, but bright enough to light the path behind the cabins. She didn't expect to see anyone. But then came a voice, low, familiar. You always wander when you're thinking too loud. Elara turned. Jaxon leaned against a tree, his face half in shadow, hair tousled, a sleeveless shirt clinging to his chest. His arms were bare, marked, his eyes darker than usual. I needed air, she said. He raised a brow. And the trees are your therapist now? Better than the council. He let out a quiet laugh and pushed off the tree, stepping closer. There was a tension to him tonight, not his usual restlessness, but something sharper, held in check, like he was trying not to say something, or trying not to feel something. Did you read it? He asked. The journal? Not yet. Why? I'm scared of what it might change. Jaxon didn't reply at first. He studied her, head tilted slightly. You know, he said slowly, most wolves want clarity, answers, strength, but you hesitate every time someone hands you power. It's not power I'm afraid of, she said. Then what? She looked at him. Losing myself. His eyes softened. You think we'd let that happen? You might not have a choice. Jaxon's gaze dropped to her lips, then back to her eyes. You say that like you're already halfway gone. Elara stepped closer before she could stop herself. And if I am? He didn't move, not away, not toward her. He just waited. I've felt it since the first night, she said quietly. Like something inside me knows you. Like my blood hums when you're near. His voice dropped to a whisper. You think I don't feel that too? A pause. Then he leaned in. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't wild. It was slow, deliberate, a brush of lips so light it almost didn't count as a kiss. But it did. Because the moment they touched, the mark on her shoulder flared, heat pulsing through her like a current. She gasped, fingers curling into his shirt. Jaxon deepened the kiss, one hand moving to her waist, pulling her just close enough to feel every inch of space disappear between them. She didn't pull away, not until something rustled nearby. They broke apart, breathless. A figure stood just outside the ring of trees. Kade. His expression wasn't angry. It was worse. It was hollow. He looked at Jaxon, then at her, and then he walked away without a word. Elara stared after him. Jaxon didn't say anything for a long time. Finally, he ran a hand through his hair. Well, he muttered, that's going to make everything easier. Why did you kiss me? She asked. He looked at her like it should have been obvious. Because I couldn't not. Her heart twisted. And because you want to win? No, he said, because when I'm near you, I stop wanting to win. I just want you, even if I never get to have you. She didn't know what to say, so she turned and walked away, back to her cabin, heart pounding. She didn't sleep. She didn't even try. She just lay awake and stared at the ceiling until dawn broke across the sky, wondering which version of herself she was becoming, and which of them had just stolen a piece of her that she might never get back. Chapter 9. Pack Politics and Broken Rules. By morning, the mood in the hollow had shifted. It started small. Conversations that stopped when Elara entered a room, lingering looks from elders, a pair of wolves posted near her cabin who weren't exactly subtle about it. Then came the summons. Council Hall. Noon. Attendance required. Elara stood outside the weathered building as the bell tolled, its cold, echoing clangs rolling through the trees. A crowd had already formed. Pack members, patrol leaders, young wolves whispering behind sleeves. The twins hadn't arrived yet. Elara found her first. You shouldn't be alone, she said. I'm not. You think Jaxon's kiss buys you safety? Elara tensed. You saw? I see everything that matters, and that matters. Her eyes flicked toward the council doors. You crossed a line. Or rather, he did. 2 alpha bloods vying for the same Luna. The council's barely stomached your mark. Now they think you're the cause of a fracture. They think I'm dangerous. They're right. The doors creaked open. Elara nodded toward them. Time to see just how deep the cracks go. Inside, the council chamber felt colder than it should have. 12 seats in a semicircle. A stone platform in the center. Elara stepped onto it and stood straight. Kade and Jaxon arrived seconds apart. Kade took a place behind her, silent and unreadable. Jaxon remained at her side. Alpha Reese didn't bother with greetings. Elara Wren Wolf, he said. You stand here not as a rogue, not as a bonded wolf, but as a threat to balance. Because I kissed someone, she said flatly. Reese ignored the jab. Because your presence has divided 2 heirs, disrupted command structures, and violated centuries of pack law. 1 Luna, 1 Alpha, That's the rule. No, Elara said. That's your rule. One made by men afraid of what it means when a woman holds power you can't control. Gasps echoed. Jaxon grinned faintly. Kade still said nothing. Watch your tone, said Elder Morel, a sharp-faced man with eyes like knives. I'll watch yours, Elara snapped, since you seem so afraid of mine. Isara's lips twitched with amusement. Rhys rose to his feet. You were warned. This entanglement cannot continue. You either renounce one bond, or you will be cast out. No, Jaxon said, stepping forward. You don't get to speak. I do when you threaten the only person in this room who hasn't lied, killed, or buried the past under silence. Jaxon looked out at the council. You want her gone because she doesn't fit the mold you carved 100 years ago. She breaks structure. She is structure now. Kade finally spoke. The council is reacting like this is new, but it's not. There have always been dual bonds, always exceptions. They were just covered up, quieted, like her bloodline. He held up the journal. Elara's breath caught. You found it, she whispered. I read it. And? Kade looked the council dead in the eye. Her grandmother was an ascendant, the last one. She was betrayed, not exiled, marked as a threat because her power could override any alphas. She didn't run, she was hunted. The council erupted in shouts. Isara raised a hand, silencing them. You knew, Kade said to her. I suspected. You let them lie. I waited for truth to rise. Elara stepped forward. So what happens now? Do you burn the truth again? Or do you let the old rules crumble? Rhys looked like he wanted to lunge at her. You think you're untouchable? No, she said. I think I'm unstoppable. A pause. Then Isara stood. Enough. The elders quieted. She will not be exiled. She will not be forced to choose. The moon has made its choice already. Rhys's voice was cold. You're siding with her. I'm siding with the future. Outside, the hollow simmered. Some wolves avoided Elara. Others nodded in quiet respect. A few even bowed their heads. She sat near the fire pit, arms wrapped around her knees. Kade found her first. You told them everything, she said. They needed to hear it. You didn't have to protect me. I wasn't protecting you, he said softly. I was backing the only person brave enough to stand against them. She looked up at him. Even after last night? His jaw flexed. You don't owe me anything. I didn't mean to hurt you. I know, he said, but I won't fight my brother for you. Her chest tightened. Then what do we do? We survive the politics. We rewrite the law. And we figure out the rest when this place doesn't want to tear us apart. A shadow moved behind the trees. Jaxon leaned against a pine, arms folded, face unreadable. We're going to make enemies, he said. We already have, Elara replied. Then let's make sure they're afraid of us. Chapter 10. The heat of the hunt. The scent of blood hit her before the alarm bell rang. Elara jerked upright, heart thudding. Outside her cabin, wolves were shifting mid-run, orders shouted into the cold morning air. The trees pulsed with movement. Something was wrong. She pulled on boots, slung her jacket over her shoulder, and threw open the door. Jaxon was already there. North border, he said. They breached it. Who? No one knows. They didn't smell rogue. They smelled trained. Kade landed beside them in wolf form, silver fur slick with dew, his eyes glowing as he shifted back. We found 3 dead. His voice was low. 2 guards, 1 scout. Throats torn? Jaxon asked. No. Kade's jaw was tight. Clean kills, arterial strikes, military. Outsiders? Elara said. Or someone we once called our own. Isara appeared beside them, her cloak snapping in the wind. We need a hunting party. Not for sport, for message. You mean retaliation, Jaxon said. I mean warning. You let enemies slip through the trees, they learn your paths, your weaknesses, your rituals. And what if they already have? Elara asked. Isara looked at her. Then we remind them we are not prey. By nightfall, the hunting party was assembled. 12 wolves, Elara among them. Not because she was forced to, because she insisted. You're not ready, Jaxon had said. You're not the one who was marked by the moon, she replied. He hadn't argued after that. The moon was half full, casting silver shadows through the pines. The scent trail was faint, metallic, sour, human-adjacent. But not quite. Whoever they were, they didn't smell natural. Kade took point. Jaxon flanked Elara. Isara held the rear. They ran, not like humans, but like wolves, feet pounding earth, breath sharp in their lungs, eyes glowing, instincts guiding them deeper into hollow territory where the trees grew thicker and the air thinner. The trail split. Jaxon slowed. Deliberate. They want to divide us, Kade said. Or flank us, Elara added. They made the call. Elara and the twins followed the sharper scent, the one that twisted with hints of ash and wolfsbane. It burned her nose. Her instincts screamed, but she pressed forward anyway. Then came the trap. A flash of movement, a dart flew from the trees, striking Jaxon in the side. He staggered, caught the tree for balance. Silver, he gritted, laced with valerian. Kade lunged, shifting midair as 3 masked figures charged from the brush. It turned to chaos, claws, fangs, blood. Elara ducked a blade, slashing with her silver steel dagger. Her mark pulsed. She could feel everything, Jaxon's pain, Kade's fury, her own heartbeat slamming like a war drum. One of the attackers turned to her. You're the Luna Ascendant, he said behind his mask. They said you were just a girl. Elara snarled. They lied. She struck him low, slicing through leather and flesh, sending him to the ground. Kade ripped the mask off another. A tattoo was branded behind the man's ear. Not a rogue. A former hollow wolf. Betrayer. Faction, Kade growled. One of the splinter packs. They're testing our strength, Jaxon said, breath labored. They've seen it, Elara replied. They won't forget it. The fight ended with blood in the dirt and 3 attackers unconscious at their feet. Isara arrived moments later, eyes scanning the mess. They didn't come to kill, she said. No, Elara said. They came to learn. Back at the hollow, the prisoners were locked in the root cells beneath council grounds. Healers tended to the wounded, and Elara stood alone beneath the moon, fingers still shaking. You did well, Kade said behind her. She didn't turn. I hesitated. You didn't fall. Jaxon could have died, but he didn't. She finally turned. How many more tests before they decide I'm not worth the risk? Kade was quiet for a moment. You're already more than worth it. That's why they're hunting you. She looked at him. They're not going to stop, are they? No, but neither are we. She glanced toward the cells. Then it's time we start hunting back. Chapter 11. The Rival Pack. They called themselves the Black Fang Circle. They didn't howl. They didn't pray to the moon. And they didn't kneel to any alpha, especially not one born under hollow blood. Their camp was deep in the Noctis Range, far beyond the warded borders of the hollow. Snow drifted silently through the trees. Smoke curled from chimneys buried in rock. Watchers in ash-colored cloaks patrolled the cliffs in wolf form, eyes sharp, movements silent. In a tent warmed by fire and silence, a man studied a map. He wasn't old, not truly, but the scar across his throat, the way he moved with authority that demanded obedience, gave the impression of age far beyond his years. His name was Silas Vane, once a hollow warrior, now a traitor, now Alpha Unbound. "She's confirmed, then," he said, tapping the northern border. "The Luna Ascendant walks the hollow again." A woman stepped forward, lithe, precise, eyes like burned gold. Marrow, his second. Marked and bonded, twice. "Both heirs?" Marrow nodded. "Brothers, predictable." Silas let out a quiet breath. They always said prophecy was just myth, that the bloodlines were diluted, that the mark would never return. Marrow raised a brow. "And yet here she is." "Just a girl," Silas muttered. "She put down 3 of our best." Silas smiled, teeth sharp. "Then maybe she's more than just a girl." He stepped away from the map, toward a chest buried in shadows. When he opened it, moonlight caught the glint of old silver leather-bound books and an iron pendant shaped like a split moon. "She'll come for us," Marrow said. "Or they will." Silas looked over his shoulder. "Let them. The Hollow thinks itself holy, protected by law. But it's rotting from the inside. All it needs is a match." "You mean her?" "I mean truth." He turned, eyes glinting. "You know what they did to my brother." Marrow nodded. "They called him defective, claimed he shifted late. They exiled him for a bond that didn't fit their doctrine, for a mate that made the council uncomfortable." He looked back to the map. "And now they're clinging to their control through a girl who could break everything they've built." "So you'll kill her?" "No," he said. "We bring her to us." "She'll never join." "She doesn't have to," he said quietly. "She just has to see." Back in the Hollow, Elara sat in the war room, the stolen mask from one of the attackers resting on the table before her. "You recognize the marking?" Isara asked. "Yes," Elara replied. "From the journal. My grandmother mentioned it once. A cult of wolves who split from the Hollow after the last blood trial. Said they believed the moon favored power, not lineage." "That's not wrong," Jaxon said from the doorway. "Power is what survives." "No," Elara said. "Unity is what survives. Power without bond is chaos." Kade leaned over the table. "They've been watching us for months, probably longer." Isara nodded. "And they waited until now to strike, when you're vulnerable, when the council is fractured." Elara stood. "Then we stop waiting." "Excuse me?" Morel barked. "We are not the aggressors." "No," Elara snapped. "But we are the target. You want to sit and hold council meetings while wolves die in their beds? Go ahead. But I'm not staying idle while they sharpen their blades." "Where will you go?" Jaxon asked. "Where they won't expect. Into the Noctis range." Kade's eyes narrowed. "That's suicide." "It's a warning," she said, "that I won't be hunted quietly, that if they want to draw blood, they'll see how much of it I'm willing to spill to protect my own." The room fell into silence. Isara didn't smile, but her eyes lit with something close to pride. "You're your grandmother's heir, all right." At the edge of Hollow territory, beneath the rising moon, Elara tightened the straps on her pack. Jaxon and Kade flanked her, neither trying to talk her out of it. "We go in quiet," she said. "We find their camp. We learn what we can. And we get out." Jaxon offered a half grin. "So no fireballs?" "Not unless they start it first." Kade's eyes locked with hers. "You sure about this?" "No," she said, "but I'm done playing prey." They shifted at the tree line, 3 wolves vanishing into the snow. The Black Fang circle wouldn't see them coming. But even Elara couldn't know what waited for her in the mountains. Not just enemies, not just truth, but bloodlines, betrayals, and a past she was never meant to survive. Chapter 12. Blood Moon Rising. The wind howled through the Noctis Range like it remembered every soul who'd died on its cliffs. Elara crept through the snowdrifts, wolf form silent, paws leaving no trace behind her. Beside her, Jaxon and Kade moved like shadows, one silver, one black, both radiating tension. They had been tracking the rival pack for hours. What started as scent trails and broken branches led to a hidden pass carved between two jagged cliffs. Smoke drifted faintly from within. It wasn't campfire smoke. It smelled strange. Charred bone and something older. Ritualistic. They're not just warriors, Elara realized. They're preparing for something. She shifted back behind cover, teeth chattering despite her adrenaline. "We're close," she whispered. "They've cloaked the perimeter with blood wards." Kade crouched beside her, grim. "They know we're coming." "No," Jaxon said. "They want us to." A howl shattered the silence. Not a call, a challenge, and it came from inside her head. Elara staggered, her mark searing white-hot against her skin. "What is it?" Kade caught her. "Something's pulling, no, calling me." She stepped forward before she could stop herself. The air around the cliffs shimmered, and suddenly the passage opened wide as if the mountains had inhaled and parted their ribs. Jaxon swore. "They've built it into the bones of the earth." "The old magic," Elara whispered. "They're using the ley lines." Then came the voice, low, velvet, too close. "You came." They turned. Silas Vane stood on a rise above them, flanked by masked wolves in black leathers. Marrow at his side, her hair braided with bones. The fire behind them burned crimson, unnaturally high, fueled by something more than wood. Elara stepped forward. "You killed our scouts. You invaded Hollowland." "I did," Silas said, smiling faintly, "because I had to be sure that it was you, the Luna reborn." "I'm not yours." He tilted his head. "But you could be. You think you belong to them?" He gestured to Jaxon and Kade. "To that council who hides truth beneath ceremony. They would cage your power in blood oaths and duty. I would let it burn." "I don't want to burn." "You will. The blood moon rises tonight." Kade tensed. "The lunar eclipse," Jackson's voice went cold. "You're trying to trigger a blood rite." "It's more than that," Elara said, realization dawning. "You're using me, my bloodline. You want to awaken the old pact, the one that forged the Hollow in the first place." Silas smiled. "Clever girl." Behind him, the flames roared. Marrow stepped forward, holding a silver bowl filled with red. "The blood of a Luna, the fire of the eclipse, the bones of the earth. The circle is ready." Elara took a step back. The mark on her skin blazed, reacting to the power building in the air. Her pulse felt synced to the moon itself, its shadow creeping slowly across its face in the sky. "You can't complete the rite without me," she said. Silas's eyes glittered. "I don't need your consent, Elara, just your presence." He raised a hand. And the wolves attacked. The fight was chaos. Teeth, claws, flame, snow. Jaxon and Kade moved in sync, cutting through attackers, but the Black Fang Circle fought like zealots, fearless, precise. Their blades were silver-coated, their movements trained. This wasn't just a brawl. It was war. Elara tried to hold the line, but her body vibrated with power. The closer the eclipse drew, the more unstable her magic became. She could feel the fire beneath the stone, the blood in her own veins trying to rise. The mark pulsed, glowing now, alive. Then Silas was in front of her. "You feel it, don't you?" he murmured. "The old blood, the first wolves, they're waking." "I won't let you use me," he laughed. "You already have." He stabbed the silver bowl into the earth, and the flames behind him turned black. Elara screamed, not from pain, but from memory. Visions surged, her grandmother, hands glowing as she stood atop the cliffs. Wolves bowing beneath the blood moon, a dagger plunged into a traitor's chest. The first Luna, voice echoing with prophecy. When the mark returns, so shall the choice, bind the hollow, or break it. Elara dropped to her knees, the mark flaring so bright it seared through her shirt. The snow around her melted. Kade and Jaxon reached her too late. She stood on shaking legs, face pale, eyes glowing. No more. The earth split. The fire surged, but this time it didn't obey Silas. It circled her, crimson and gold, curling up her arms like armor. The mark burned a path across her chest, forming the full crest of the Luna Ascendant. Silas backed away. "What are you doing?" he hissed. "Ending this." She raised her hand, and the fire struck. Not wild, not violent, commanded. The flames curled around the ritual circle and collapsed it, shattering the blood wards and breaking the connection to the ley lines. The masked wolves fled, eyes wide. Silas snarled. "You've damned us all." "No," Elara said softly. "I've freed them." And then the eclipse reached its peak. The moon turned blood red, and every wolf in the range, hollow or rogue, felt it. A shift, a reset, a return. The Luna Ascendant had claimed her name, and nothing would be the same. Chapter 13. Torn between them. The hollow was silent when they returned. Not in grief, but in awe. Word had traveled faster than they had. Whispers of the blood moon igniting, of fire bending to Elara's will, of Silas retreating into the mountains with his tail between his legs. Some called it victory. Elara wasn't so sure. She hadn't spoken since they crossed the border. Not even when the elders bowed. Not even when the pups stared up at her like she was some goddess etched in living flame. She felt hollow. Full of power, yes, but empty too. Like something inside her had been cracked to make room for what the mark had become. She didn't want power. She wanted peace. And peace never came with wolves. That night, she stood at the edge of the hot springs, steam curling around her like smoke. The stars blinked above the trees, indifferent. Kade found her first. He didn't speak, just dropped his pack and sat on the stone beside her. "You think I wanted this?" she asked. "No. But you think I needed it?" He didn't answer right away. "You needed to see it. The truth. What you are." She looked at him. "And what am I now?" Kade's eyes met hers. "Mine." Her breath caught. "You think it's just instinct," she said quietly. "The bond." "No. I think it's fate," he replied. "But I also think fate can be wrong." She turned away. "You didn't say that before." "I didn't feel this before." His voice lowered. "The moment you took control of that fire, the second the moon turned red, I knew. I wasn't protecting you anymore. I was following you." "You're not supposed to," she whispered. "You're alpha." "So are you." She didn't know who moved first, but suddenly he was too close, and her hands were tangled in his shirt. And his mouth was on hers like a vow he'd been dying to make. It wasn't gentle. It was everything they'd both been too afraid to want. And then, "Enough!" Jackson's voice cut through the air like a blade. Kade pulled back, but didn't step away. Neither did Elara. Jaxon walked toward them slowly, eyes burning. "You couldn't wait." Kade's jaw tightened. You were the one who said you'd step back. I didn't think you'd take her. I didn't take anything. She's not a prize. I know that, Jaxon said, eyes flicking to Elara. Which is why I'm here. Elara backed up, breath uneven. You both need to stop. You think we're fighting over you? Jaxon asked. I know you are. You're wrong. He stepped closer. We're fighting for what we swore to protect. But that's not the Hollow. That's you. Kade looked at him. You love her. Jaxon didn't flinch. I do. Elara closed her eyes. I didn't ask for either of you. No, Kade said, but you have us. She looked between them. Two wolves, two halves of one legacy. One cautious, clever, wounded. One fierce, loyal, burning, and her, marked by the moon, caught between their shadows. I need time, she whispered. You have it, Jaxon said. Take all of it, Kade echoed. And then, just like that, they both left her alone beneath the stars, hearts torn open, but still waiting. Because some bonds were forged in fire, others in choice, and Elara had yet to make hers. Chapter 14. Mates or Mistakes. The mark didn't fade. It pulsed beneath Elara's skin like a second heartbeat, low and persistent, whispering things she didn't know how to name. It was there when she woke, when she sparred, when she tried to sleep. And it was strongest when she was near them. The bond was real, tangible, but it was also tangled, two threads pulling at her from opposite ends, neither willing to let go, and she didn't know if she wanted them to. Elara handed her a scroll sealed with wax. The council wants an answer. To what? Your future, your role, and your mates. Elara winced. You said I had time. You did, but the blood moon accelerated things. You showed power they can't ignore. Now they want clarity. She paused. And control. Let them wait. Isara's smile was bitter. You can keep them waiting, but you can't keep them waiting. She nodded toward the window. Elara followed her gaze. Kade stood in the training yard, shirtless, sparring with two elite warriors at once. Fire licked the air around him, not summoned, just stirred by his presence. Jaxon leaned against the far wall, arms crossed, watching. Not just the fight. Her. The tension between them hadn't eased. It had deepened, grown heavier with everything left unsaid. Later, she found herself in the library, hiding in old texts and hollow legends, trying to outrun her own heart. But Jaxon found her anyway. You're avoiding us, he said, voice quiet. I'm thinking. He sat across from her. I told you I loved you. That didn't scare me. But the bond did, not because I don't want it, but because I don't know if it's real. She blinked. You don't trust the bond? I don't trust what it means anymore. He leaned forward. What if you're only drawn to us because of magic, because of blood and timing and fate trying to play matchmaker? And if that's true, she asked, then I'll walk away, because I don't want to be chosen by a mark. I want to be wanted. She said nothing. Do you feel anything when we're apart? He asked softly. Too much, she admitted. Then maybe the bond didn't start it. Maybe it just lit a fire that was already there. Before she could respond, Kade entered. Of course. You told her? He asked Jaxon. She deserves to know what this is, or what it isn't. Kade looked at Elara. Then I want my turn. He crossed the room, not with a fighter's swagger, but something quieter, more exposed. I don't question the bond, he said, because I felt you before I knew you, The first time I saw you, before the mark, before the prophecy, I knew. And it terrified me. Kade, I don't care if it was written in the stars or carved into our skin. What I feel isn't magic. It's mine. His voice dropped. But if you don't feel it too, if I'm just another mark on your skin, I'll step back. The room was too small for her thoughts, too full of heat and history and hope. She stood, heart racing. I don't know what I feel, she said honestly. I know that when I'm with Jaxon, I breathe easier. I know that when I'm with you, Kade, I feel like the world could fall, and I'd still be standing. She looked down at her hands. But I don't want to choose because I have to. I want to choose when I'm ready, if I'm ready. And if you never are? Jaxon asked, voice tight. Then maybe we weren't mates, she whispered. Maybe we were just mistakes waiting to happen. Silence stretched between them. Then Kade stepped back. Jaxon did too. And Elara was alone again. Not unloved, but unclaimed for now. Chapter 15. The Alpha Challenge. The Hollow hadn't seen a formal challenge in years. Not one backed by blood. Not one witnessed by the entire pack under a rising sun, with the circle of stone cleared, ringed by sentries, elders, and wolves standing silent in the trees. But today, there would be one. Elara stood on the ridge above the circle, her fists clenched in her cloak. She hadn't slept. Not after hearing the words whispered across the pack grounds, whispered like a threat or a promise. The twins are going to fight. Kade didn't ask her permission. Jaxon didn't tell her his reasons, but both had made their choice. Too many challenges had been left unanswered. Leadership blurred, command split, instincts crossed, and the future of the Hollow uncertain. Worse, rumors spread that a Luna who hesitated was a Luna who divided, and divided packs didn't survive. Kade stood bare-chested in the center of the circle, silver scars across his collarbone, jaw clenched. His wolf was just under the surface. Elara could see it in his eyes. The heat of him made the snow melt at his feet. Jaxon walked in calmly, silently, but the storm that lived inside him was barely contained. Where Kade burned, Jaxon waited to strike like lightning. "State your claim," Elder Marek called. "I challenge for alpha rights," Kade said without hesitation. "I challenge Jaxon Thorne for command of the Hollow." Jackson's eyes never left his brother. "And I accept," gasps rippled through the gathered wolves. "This is madness," Elara said aloud, but no one responded. Tradition was sacred. Once begun, a challenge couldn't be stopped. Isara's hand gripped her arm. "You can't interfere." "I'm not interfering," she said. "I'm watching the people I care about destroy each other." Isara's silence said everything. This wasn't about Elara anymore. This was about two alphas, two brothers, choosing whether they could share power or not. The fight began like a dance, swift, brutal, silent. Fangs flashed, claws struck, but neither shifted. This wasn't about primal strength. It was about control. Mind over instinct, blood over bond. Elara watched every movement like it was being carved into her bones. Jaxon was precise, striking at Kade's flanks, testing him. Kade moved with fury, faster, stronger, but reckless. They were evenly matched, too evenly matched. And then Kade landed a hit that sent Jaxon sprawling. He pounced. Elara moved without thinking. She was down the ridge, into the ring, between them before anyone could stop her. Power flared from her palms, pure, instinctive, blinding. "Enough!" The fire rose between them, not burning, but commanding. A wall that neither twin dared cross. "You think this proves something?" she shouted, eyes blazing. That whoever wins gets to claim me, to command me. Jaxon stood, blood on his jaw. That's not... Yes, it is. You both say you love me, but you use tradition as an excuse to fight each other. What happens when someone else challenges you, Kade? Will you fight Jaxon again? What happens when I disagree with you, Jaxon? Do you force me into line? Her voice dropped, sharp. Being alpha isn't just about power. It's about balance, and right now, all you've shown is that neither of you is ready for it. The fire snapped out, leaving silence in its wake. No one spoke, not even the elders. Jaxon looked at Kade. We did this to ourselves. Kade wiped blood from his mouth. And to her. They turned to Elara. She took a breath. I won't choose a mate out of fear, and I won't follow an alpha who rules by force. If either of you want to lead this pack or stand by my side, you have to earn it. Her voice was steady now. And that doesn't mean fighting. That means proving you can protect more than just your pride. The council conferred. Then, slowly, Elder Marek stepped forward. The challenge is suspended by Luna's command. Gasps echoed, but no protests. Elara had spoken, and the Hollow would listen. That night, neither Kade nor Jaxon came to her door, and for the first time, Elara slept. Alone, but not afraid. Chapter 16. Marked forever. The mark was changing. It had always been warm, sometimes pulsing, sometimes still, but now it burned. Not with pain, with presence. Elara stared at her reflection in the pool beneath the Luna tree, the sacred heart of the Hollow. Her skin shimmered faintly in the moonlight, and the crescent mark on her shoulder glowed, silver and alive. It wasn't fading. It was becoming. She hadn't seen Kade or Jaxon in 3 days. After the challenge, both had kept their distance. No orders, no sparring, no quiet knocks at her door. Just silence. Respectful, stifling silence. She'd asked for space, and they gave it. But the absence spoke louder than any argument. They were waiting, hoping, hurting, and she was changing. Elara found her at dawn. There's something you should see, she said simply, and led her down into the catacombs beneath the Hollow. Elara had never been allowed this far before. The air grew colder with each step, the scent of moss and ancient ash thick on the walls. Finally, Elara stopped before a great door. Symbols glowed faintly in a circular pattern. Wolves, moons, stars, and something older. You're not the first Luna to be marked by the twins, Elara said. Elara froze. You're the first in centuries, but not the first. She opened the door. Inside was a chamber of stone and silence. In the center, a pedestal with an old leather-bound book sealed with wax and runes. Elara stepped back. It will only open for you. Elara reached out. Her fingers hovered over the cover, and the mark on her shoulder flared. The seal melted silently away. She opened the book. It wasn't a diary. It was a prophecy, written in jagged ink in a woman's hand. I was chosen by the moon, not for power, but for sacrifice. The mark is not a bond of love, it is a tether of balance, one twin for war, one for wisdom, and the Luna between them, not to be owned, but to anchor them both. If either wolf claims her fully, the mark will burn out, and fate will unravel. The bond is not possession, it is protection, until one breaks it. Elara felt her breath catch. This wasn't about choosing between them. This was about holding them both so that the Hollow didn't tear itself apart. Outside, the moon rose. Full, silver, silent. Elara stood beneath it, arms bare, as the mark pulsed again. This time, she let it spread, let the silver streak through her veins, let her body accept it. Not just a Luna, not just a girl caught in fate, but a force in her own right. She remembered the way Kade touched her like he couldn't breathe without her, the way Jaxon looked at her like she could burn down every lie he'd ever told himself. She remembered fire and storm, and chose neither. She chose balance. And as the mark brightened, as the Hollow's wolves lifted their heads and howled in unison, Elara whispered into the night, "I am not yours to claim. I am yours to guard. I am not marked because I was chosen. I am marked because I chose." In the distance, something stirred, not wolf, not man, but something that had been waiting, watching, because now the bond was sealed and the final phase had begun. Chapter 17. The Forgotten Throne. The dreams had shifted. No longer blood and wolves. Now a throne, ancient, stone-carved, covered in vines, moss, and silver dust. Empty, yet waiting. Each night, Elara walked toward it. Each time, the ground cracked beneath her feet like old bones waking up. She never made it to the throne. Until now. The hollow was quiet, almost reverent. Word had spread about her ascension, not just the mark's final glow, but the energy it released. Wolves had dropped to their knees without knowing why. Elders dreamed of white fire, trees bent in strange winds. Even Elara had whispered, "It's beginning again." "What is?" Elara had asked, but Elara just pressed a key into her hand and said, "Go to the northern cairn." Elara didn't bring Kade or Jaxon. She couldn't. This wasn't about love. It was about history. The northern cairn was barely more than a ruin, pillars toppled and stone walls covered in ivy. The key fit into the base of an altar no one remembered the name of. The floor shuddered, and then it opened. Beneath it, a staircase carved into the mountain, a forgotten tomb, a hidden court, and at the end, a throne room buried by time. Massive, cracked, beautiful in its decay, with frescoes of wolves painted in gold and a dais holding a single chair. Her throne. She knew it before her fingers brushed it, not because she'd ever seen it, but because it had always been waiting for her. A rush of memory hit her. Not hers. Hers. A Luna with hair of fire and eyes like the stars. A queen in her own right. She had ruled not beside her mate, but above her court. A high Luna once said to command not just a pack, but the sky itself. Her fall had shattered the great line. Her death had buried the Hollow's old power. And Elara? She was her blood. The last daughter of the first Luna's line. The mark hadn't chosen her randomly. It had recognized her. Behind her, a voice echoed, "You found it." She turned. Jaxon. Alone. Breathless. Angry and awed. "You shouldn't be here," she said. "I followed your scent. You disappeared. Again." She faced the throne. This was hidden for a reason. "Because it scared them," he said quietly. The idea of a Luna who didn't need to be claimed. A Luna who ruled. She touched the armrest. "It's not about ruling." "Isn't it?" Kade appeared behind him, his voice low, unreadable. "Elara told us everything. She's known for years. She's a guardian of the old line. And you're the last heir." Elara looked at them both. "You thought I was a choice you had to make," she said. "But I'm not a prize. I'm not your Luna because you love me. I'm your Luna because I was born to restore this court." The throne pulsed beneath her hand. The mark blazed silver. The twins bowed, not because they were forced to, but because they understood. This was no longer about the Hollow. This was about awakening an ancient kingdom. Outside the cairn, the wind shifted, and far to the east, a rival pack watched the sky turn white with power. Their alpha hissed, "The Luna's throne has awakened," and in the darkness behind him, something ancient stirred. Chapter 18. War in the Shadows. They came without warning. No howls, no scents on the wind, just silence and blood. Elara was in the old council hall when the first alarm rang. One of the border scouts, a teenager barely through his first shift, stumbled in with claw marks across his back and panic in his eyes. "They didn't shift," he gasped. "They were fast, human, but not. Eyes like smoke. They came through the east gorge, no scent, no sound. Not wolves, not humans, something else." Jaxon knelt beside the scout, voice low but urgent. "How many?" The boy swallowed. "Too many." Kade was already pulling on his jacket when Elara stopped him. "We don't know what they are. We know they're killing our wolves. And if they're not werewolves, the old laws won't protect us." "Then we make new laws," he snapped. But Elara's voice held firm. "We can't fight something we don't understand." They gathered in the war room, the twins flanking her, Elara and the elders seated in the old crescent. "The mark has been reawakened," Elara said, tracing a rune on the table's surface. "The throne is no longer just a myth. It's a beacon." "For what?" Kade asked. "Assassins?" "For every forgotten power still lurking in the deep woods." Jaxon leaned forward. "Then we need to strike first. We take scouts. We find where they're hiding, and we burn it to the ground." "That's what they expect," Elara said. "You don't shadow a pack to crush it. You do it to bleed it." The others went quiet. She stood. "This isn't a war of teeth. It's a war of fear." That night, she walked the perimeter alone. Let them think she was unguarded. Let them think the Luna could be cornered. She let the mark pulse faintly, enough to draw them. They came, black-cloaked figures with ash-stained blades, eyes like smoke just as the scout had said. Not human, not wolf, wraithborn, creatures of the in-between, exiled from magic, forbidden from claiming territory. And now, they hunted her. But she wasn't unarmed. The moment they stepped into the clearing, the mark lit the forest in silver. The trees screamed, the ground cracked. And behind her, shadows shifted, wolves emerging from every side. Kade, Jaxon, the enforcers, silent and ready. The Wraithborn hesitated. One stepped forward. "You wear the mark of the throne," it hissed. "You stir things best left buried." "And you crossed into hollow territory," Elara said coldly. "You don't belong here. We belong to the void your kind created. The throne you wake is not yours alone." "What do you want?" Its smile was rotten. "We want the pact fulfilled." And then it disappeared, smoke in moonlight. The attack was a warning, but also a message. Elara returned to the throne room that night and knelt before the ancient altar carved with names long forgotten. Her fingers traced one word over and over: Virelda. Elara found her an hour later. "Do you know what that is?" Elara stood slowly. "The name of the last Luna Queen." Elara nodded. "And also the name of the first war." Elara turned, eyes bright with power and fury. "Then we'll finish what she started." The Hollow was no longer just a pack. It was a kingdom. And kingdoms don't run, they rise. Chapter 19. The Court Reborn. The Hollow had been built for survival, but it was never meant to thrive like this. Elara stood in the heart of the old stone chamber beneath the Luna tree, once a crypt, now being remade. Dust and ivy had been cleared, symbols recarved. The throne sat under a new banner, silver thread shaped like two wolves, back to back, with a crescent moon between them. It was time. The Hollow needed more than strength. It needed vision. It needed a court. "You're not rebuilding a pack, Elara said as she laid out ancient scrolls. "You're reviving a seat of power that once ruled across 5 territories." Elara nodded. "Then I won't do it alone." She chose carefully. Not just alphas and warriors, but balance. Kade became her warden of the blade, protector of borders, and the Hollow's sword. He understood loyalty like instinct. His strength would guard the throne from brute force. Jaxon was named Warden of the Flame, not because of his temper, but because of his mind. He had insight and instinct, and the court needed both to survive politics sharper than claws. Then came the unexpected. Mira, a half-witch, half-wolf exile who returned at Elara's summons. Pale eyes, sharper than silver, born of 2 worlds, hated by both. She became Elara's shadow keeper, the court's spy, sorceress, and seer, the one who could walk between worlds. Lauren, a healer, once cast out for refusing the Alpha's mate. She became keeper of flesh and spirit. Her loyalty wasn't to tradition, but truth. She would keep the court alive, even if it meant breaking sacred law. And Elara, once only a whisperer of prophecies, stepped forward as voice of the Hollow, keeper of records, lore, and bloodlines. She would ensure this court never forgot who they were, or what they could become. The ceremony was held under the full moon. No violence, no posturing, just vows spoken in blood and light. One by one, each member of the court cut their palm and pressed it to the stone. The mark on Elara's shoulder glowed brighter with each bond formed. This wasn't a pack mark. This was something older, a covenant, not of submission, but of will. When the final vow was spoken, the ground beneath the Luna tree trembled. Roots split apart to reveal a hidden seal, an emblem untouched for centuries. Elara knelt, and the moment her blood touched the stone, the air shifted. Wolves across the territory howled, not in pain, not in warning, in recognition. The court was reborn, but across the border, in a burned forest far to the east, a rival alpha stood watching the stars twist unnaturally. "She's awakened the court," he said. Behind him, a tall figure stepped from shadow, cloaked in red, her voice sharp and familiar. "Then it's time we awaken ours." A second court, a rival Luna, a war not just for survival, but for rule. Chapter 20. The Crimson Luna. It started with the sky. Not clouds, not thunder, but a reddening. The moon rose like a cut, sharp, unnatural, and every wolf in the Hollow felt it, the echo of something old waking. Not a warning, a challenge. "She's called herself the Crimson Luna," Elara said quietly, "and she claims to be heir to the lost bloodline of the East." Elara stood at the edge of the Hollow's outer ridge, overlooking the black forest where scouts had gone missing 2 nights before. "She's not just claiming territory," Elara murmured. "She's claiming legacy." Kade's voice was sharp. "We don't recognize her authority. She's not from the Hollow." "No," Elara said, her tone careful. "She's from before the Hollow, a survivor of the fractured courts." That got everyone's attention. The first envoy arrived at dusk. They weren't wolves, they were marked. Humans touched by wolf blood, caught between species, never able to shift, but dangerous, Fast, loyal, trained to kill, they wore blood-red cloaks and bore no pack scent. One of them stepped forward and knelt. "A message," he said, "from Luna Selene of the Crimson Court." Elara said nothing, but her mark burned. The envoy unrolled a scroll. "To the one who calls herself Luna of the Hollow, you sit on a stolen throne. You carry a mark that was not yours to awaken. The bloodline you claim died in fire. I am Selene, daughter of the broken blood, forged in exile. I am the last of the true line, and I call you to prove your claim. One court will rule, one Luna will remain. Meet me at the Ashen Stones under the next full moon, or be named coward, usurper, and pretender before all packs. The court rises, you will fall." The envoy left with no further words. Elara stood frozen, because she knew that name. Selene. They'd been children together. Once. Selene's mother had been banished after being accused of cursing the Alpha's heir. She'd vanished with her daughter into the wildlands. Everyone thought they died. But Selene had lived, and now she was back, with an army and a vendetta. Later, in the war room, Jaxon was pacing. "She's provoking a duel." "She's claiming divine blood," Kade growled. "The court won't survive a split allegiance." "She won't get one," Elara said. Her voice was cold steel. "This isn't a challenge of love or leadership. This is inheritance." Isara leaned forward. "You must prepare for more than combat. Selene doesn't just fight with claws. She's trained in blood magic." "The old rites." Elara didn't flinch. "Then I'll remind her why the Hollow survived when the others didn't." That night, Elara returned to the throne alone. She placed her hands on the ancient arms of the seat and whispered to the spirits sleeping beneath the stone. "She wants war. She wants fear. I'll give her truth. And the truth is, I was made for this." Far off under the red moon, Selene smiled. She had waited a lifetime for this reckoning, and she would not be denied. Chapter 21. Ashen Stones and Blood Oaths. The Ashen Stones weren't just a battleground. They were sacred. A ring of black monoliths, older than memory, burned smooth by centuries of moonfire. Here, no lies could be spoken. No false Luna could stand unchallenged. Elara stood within the circle at dawn, wrapped in a cloak of silver thread, her mark burning against her skin. Selene was already there. Dressed in blood-red robes, her presence was regal, cold, and sharp as broken glass. Her wolves flanked her, marked with crimson paint, silent as ghosts. "I didn't think you'd come," Selene said. "You always underestimated me," Elara replied. Selene smiled. "And you always wanted peace. Let's see if it can survive truth." The ceremony began in silence. Isara stepped forward as the appointed witness. She held the oath blade, carved from obsidian, veined with the blood of old Lunas. "By ancient law," Isara intoned, "you stand not as women, but as heirs. One mark is true, one bloodline remains. The stones will know the rightful Luna, and the land will choose." Selene extended her arm. So did Elara. The blade cut deep. Blood dripped onto the central stone. It hissed, the air fractured, and suddenly, everything changed. The vision hit Elara like a lightning strike. She saw fire, a throne broken in two, twin bloodlines, one hidden, one hunted, and at the center, Verelda, the first Luna, torn between her two daughters. One bore the mark, the other bore the curse. Both claimed truth, but only one had the will to endure exile. Elara stumbled back, heart racing. Selene looked shaken too. But then she smiled. "You saw it." "I did," Elara whispered. "And now you know," Celine said. "The mark you wear was meant for both of us." "No," Elara said slowly. "It was split between us. We're two halves of one line." Celine's smile faltered. "There doesn't have to be a war," Elara continued. "We end what Verelda couldn't. Together." But Celine stepped back. "No, I didn't survive exile to share a throne. I survived to claim it." Then she shifted. Her wolf was massive, deep red fur, eyes like fire. The ground trembled beneath her paws. Elara's mark flared, and she shifted too, silver white, faster than wind, her howl shaking the stones. And then they clashed. It wasn't just teeth and claws. The fight bled into magic. Blood sigils crackled in the air. The stones glowed, testing each strike for truth. Elara's court watched, unmoving, bound by law. They could not interfere. Celine was faster, but Elara was anchored to the court, to her pack, to the truth. And when the final blow came, Elara didn't kill her. She pressed Celine to the ground, her paw heavy over Celine's chest. "I don't want to rule through fear," Elara said through their bond. "But I will if I must." Celine's growl faltered, and then, slowly, she bowed her head. The stones pulsed once, then fell silent. Later, under the moon, Elara offered her hand. Celine took it, not as equals, but as survivors. "I still don't like you," Celine muttered. "You don't have to," Elara said. "You just have to help rebuild." And in the shadows, the land itself breathed. Two bloodlines reunited, one throne restored. Chapter 22. Queen of Wolves. The hollow no longer slept. It breathed, it pulsed, it thrived. Days after the ashen stones, Elara stood at the edge of the Lunatree clearing, watching the pack run free below. The bond between them all was stronger now, rooted in truth, sealed in blood, no longer shaken by fear. She was no longer just a girl marked by fate. She was Luna by choice. And her rule had begun. The court had expanded. Celine, once an enemy, had become an advisor, sharp-eyed and unrelenting. She didn't pretend to follow. She challenged, and Elara welcomed it. "I still think you should have let me burn down the rival court," Celine muttered one morning. "And I still think peace is stronger than ashes," Elara replied. Celine just rolled her eyes. "You're a terrible tyrant." Elara smiled. "Good thing I never wanted to be one." Kade stood at her side more often now, not as protector, but as partner. "I thought I'd lose you to the throne," he said quietly one night, brushing her cheek with his knuckles. "But you just grew into it." "You didn't lose me," she whispered. "You waited until I could stand beside you. That's love, Kade. That's ours." They didn't need a ceremony. They'd already chosen each other again and again, in battles, in silence, in trust. But the kiss that followed felt like a vow, and this time, it was hers to make. Jaxon didn't leave either. He stayed to help rebuild the training rings, retrain the younger wolves, and remind everyone that strength wasn't just in dominance, but in discipline. "Still think I'm the reckless one," he teased her during a full moon run. "Always," she called back, laughing. But when the run ended and the twins flanked her at the Lunatree's base, Elara felt it fully. She wasn't caught between them anymore. She led with them. The Luna Court was real now, not just a dream carved in old stone. They opened their borders, not to everyone, but to those in need, lone wolves, outcasts, witches cast out by their own covens. Peace didn't mean softness. It meant purpose, and power tempered by care. Asara approached Elara in the quiet after a council meeting, eyes bright with something unreadable. "You know this isn't the end." "I know," Elara said, "but it's the first time it feels like a beginning." Isara placed a hand over Elara's heart. "The mark chose well." "No," Elara replied, voice steady. I chose this life, this court, this love, and I'll keep choosing it." That night, beneath the full moon, the pack gathered. Wolves shifted back into skin, flames lit across the field, and laughter echoed through the hollow. Elara stood before them, cloak sweeping the earth, crown of silver leaves nestled in her dark hair. Not a crown of gold, not one of conquest, but one of balance. She raised her hand. The pack went silent. "I was marked, I was hunted, I was tested, but I chose not to be ruled by fear. I chose truth. I chose love. I chose you. This court will not rule with silence. It will lead with strength, and no shadow will ever take that from us again." They howled, a chorus of loyalty, of love, of home. And above them, the moon glowed silver, whole, steady, and watching. Elara of the Hollow, Luna of the Twin-Blood Court, Queen of Wolves. And the story wasn't over, but it was finally hers. Epilogue. 2 hearts, 1 fate. The Hollow was quieter now. Not empty, just still. Like it was finally breathing in peace. Elara sat at the edge of the lake just beyond the Lunatree Grove, bare feet in the cold water, silver crown resting in the grass beside her. Her reflection rippled in the moonlight. Wolf and woman. Both. Neither. Something more. She heard the footsteps before she saw him. Kade. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. He just sat beside her, close enough to touch, far enough to respect the silence. "It's strange," she said after a while. "I thought I'd feel lighter once it was all over." "You don't?" "I do, but not in the way I expected. It's not a release. It's a weight that I finally chose to carry. And now that it's mine, it's beautiful." He leaned back on his elbows, watching her. "You always carried it, even before the mark, even before the court. You were just the only one who didn't see it yet." She smiled. "You always say the right thing." "No," he said softly. "I just know you." Elara turned to him fully. "And what if I told you I don't want to do any of this alone anymore? You never were." She reached out, threading her fingers through his. Their bond flared, quiet, sure, permanent. Not a mate mark, not magic. Just them. 2 hearts, finally steady. 1 fate, freely chosen. Somewhere in the distance, wolves howled. Not for war, not for mourning, but for the dawn. Elara stood, tugging Kade up with her, and they walked back toward the hollow together. Behind them, the moon hung low over the lake, and for the first time in a long time, everything was exactly where it was meant to be.